As part of our how-to series, we're going to look at a simple logic exercise that can open up many doors for you in working through your doubt column. Of the three columns, the doubt column tends to have the most overall information in it that needs to be addressed, as each of you, if you think about it, has hundreds of questions, points of confusion, fears, or garden variety lack of certainty. While science is a prerequisite, it is in the logic that we get to full certainty. One way to engage with the logic, as I will show you in this video today, is to lay out two theories side by side and see which one is more likely to be true. As you do this, you will hone your theories more and more and come to feel greater comfort with certainty about the ones that survive. This episode addresses that general concept, but also how to master what I refer to as level 2 doubt. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we'll get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Now, without further ado, let's turn our attention to how to evaluate different theories through logic and level 2 doubt. Recently, I shared with you all how to put two theories side by side to target a particular doubt. Getting to the how of it all is of crucial importance, as having a nice theory, or even an entirely correct one, that can't be implemented doesn't do us much good. As I have come to see it, the center of the how-to of mind-body work is in resolving doubt. While each column is very crucial to parts of the experience, it is doubt that keeps things stuck in the same place and hinders the progress of the other columns. I've already discussed in a previous video how to get your doubts articulated, and this is absolutely the first step you must take in getting doubts resolved. Remember, the job is not to have no doubt. The job is to get to a place of no doubt on as many issues as you can through science and logic. But it can't be faked. You must believe the self-talk in considering how to master doubts. Once you have identified a doubt and gotten it well articulated, it is time to engage with it directly. Just as I did in the episode on resolving level 1 doubt, we are now going to do the same for a sample level 2 doubt, once again focusing on one of my favorite ways of using logic to dismantle any doubt. As a review, here is what I often do for myself and recommend you utilizing as well. Once you have the doubt well articulated, it is in good shape to be scrutinized. How do we do this? One of the best things we can do is to lay out two distinct theories that directly answer the doubt, whether to our satisfaction or not. We just want to compare two answers and see which one is closer to being true with science and logic. As we do this, we can get closer and closer to a true theory. And we must be ferocious in our view of what is logical and what is not. We must not fall into what we wish was true, or what would be easier to be true, or what everyone else thinks is true. If a theory doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if it relies on randomness or an easy acceptance of, we don't know, it isn't a good theory. We can do better. If a theory is true some of the time, but not all of the time, it's also no good. If it can't explain things from every angle, it is absolutely no good. Use this way of thinking to look at different theories to determine what actually makes sense. One great relief I have found that gives me a much greater sense of security in my certainty is that the mind-body theory is always superior to the other ones, from every angle. The other ones tend to focus on only one part of experience, and most of the time not even that well. But mind-body theories, done well anyways, capture everything. I often marvel at the things I used to believe, many of which the massive majority of society still believes. And now, and I mean no disrespect by this, but rather a healthy encouragement for you to be able to join in the laughter once you see the joke, I sometimes find myself in stitches, realizing some seriously crazy beliefs I once had. I hear your average person now talk about pain, and they sound quite confused, but willing themselves to sound confident. What I want is a conceptualization in which we can actually be confident, fully. I was convinced for many reasons that some of my issues were different than others, and that meant some of them probably couldn't be fully alleviated. In mastering some of my mind-body symptoms, I just wasn't sure how far it went. Some of this related to level 1 doubt. I don't know, I thought. Maybe it is some combination of structural and mind-body. But even once I was past level 1 doubt, and knew with every fiber of my being that this was only a mind-body issue, another doubt was waiting for me. Could it cure everything? Would it come back with a vengeance? Or even just a little bit? Can I ultimately be free of the pain or other symptom? Completely? This is level 2 doubt. I believe that I have a mind-body condition and that it can be helped by mind-body work, but just how far can I take it? It's not an unreasonable question at all, but there is an actual answer. And while science gets us part of the way there, showing how good the body is at healing virtually anything that can be healed, it is logic that helps us cross the finish line. Here is how we can lay out the two separate theories to evaluate so we can get somewhere. Let's articulate my doubt again. Here's what I thought at the time. I believe that this isn't structural at all, and I believe that the mind-body experience can create all of these symptoms, but I am just not sure that it is totally reversible. How do we evaluate this so we can get new information? Obviously, we can turn ourselves over to a quote-unquote expert, but these days we are running the risk of going down some bad rabbit holes with that. As always, get checked out by a medical doctor to rule out anything major in the medical arena, but after that, they may not know any more about it than you do, probably less, given that they aren't grappling with it and aren't listening to a podcast like this. I'd rather get my information in the most rock-solid format possible, and this is done with science and logic, verified from multiple angles so that it all converges around the same unshakable evidence. Lining up two theories and comparing them is a great way to have one become less viable and move on to a different opponent for your best theories so far. As I said last time, in lining up two theories, it is crucial to bring the very real consideration that what seems eminently plausible could end up being one of the most outlandish theories you've ever had. We need true, full openness of exploration if we're going to discover the scientific and logical truth. And listen, we will have no idea when we are caught in a faulty theory or self-deception if we can't consider we might be caught in one. I'm repeating myself from last time, but this is so important. This is the one time where you must actually learn to doubt. First, we learn to doubt the right things. Then we learn to have certainty from having had that doubt and looked at it with an objective eye. This is how we can be most confident because we gave the other sides every chance to win the logical argument, and they lost. Let's look at an example so you can see what I mean and how to apply lining up two theories side by side to get some answers. As I mentioned, today's example comes in level 2 doubt. Once again, I am pulling this out of thin air because it is one of hundreds of thousands of doubts with which one could come up. Let's take the idea that some symptoms are simply much harder to change, and therefore, even if we believe it is a mind-body symptom, we can probably only get partial relief. I'm not saying that's true, I'm saying we're imagining this belief and we're exploring it. Line up the reality of the two theories with a fully confident mind-body theory on one side. Theory 1, the one that is not as confident in the mind-body viewpoint, or not confident at all. Theory 1, the one that is not as confident in the mind-body viewpoint, states, I have used mind-body methods to get myself a lot better in some areas, but the success has been mixed, so I wonder if this particular symptom can't be fully helped or if mind-body help only goes so far. Once again, this isn't a ridiculous theory, at least not at first glance. I have every expectation that all of your theories aren't going to be absurd or bad right out of the gate. Wondering if a particular symptom is less resolvable or if there are limits to mind-body success is totally reasonable. As is the case for most theories that get past the beginning phase, the questions certainly fit with the data we have on the symptom experience. Many people aren't getting all the way better. There has to be a reason for that, and this idea is a reasonable one to consider. But that is before we bring in theory 2. Mind-body experiences are very powerful, and the extent and nature of our beliefs can determine whether or not we get better to such a huge degree that people aren't getting better uniformly because our belief system isn't yet strong enough. More specifically, I am having a mind-body experience where my doubt about being able to resolve this symptom more fully caps the degree to which I can get better. I do not need to believe this on faith. The science and logic is there to make it abundantly clear that this is the reality. I just haven't yet gotten to the point of belief at which I want to be, and that is the only thing that can prevent me from getting all the way better if I do indeed believe this is a mind-body issue. Everything in the way Theory 1 looks and feels is captured in Theory 2. Nothing is left out. The mind-body theory accounts for everything we see in the first theory, but, as you will see, explains it with much more precision and leaves far fewer questions floating around. It notes that you haven't gotten all the way better. It notes that some people aren't getting all the way better. But it has an actual explanation for why that is occurring in the way that it is. Even better, it doesn't have any scientific or logical holes in it, whereas Theory 1 is actually riddled with them upon close examination. The science alone is pretty damning of Theory 1. If anyone has gotten all the way better from each symptom, it begs the question, why are we throwing out this data? There's plenty of data to show that some people do get better from any number of symptoms, especially anything outside the realm of serious medical illnesses. The recent Boulder back pain study that Alan Gordon, Howard Schubiner, and Yoni Asher just recently completed was highly conclusive of this working for back pain, and the other research across the board shows the mind-body view to be a much stronger reflection of reality than Theory 1. People are getting better from mind-body work. Some are getting better from other treatments as well, but none of those other treatments have been tested against mind-body work or even had it factored in as a control, making their scientific results far more questionable than anything produced by the mind-body community. People have gotten better by mind-body treatments without any question of there being a placebo cure, because the mind-body cure accesses the same thing as a placebo, belief, but it is based in fact. This is not to suggest that the people who don't get better are to blame. No, far from it. These people may have been so loaded down with fear and doubt that they didn't stand a chance yet. But regardless, we already have strike one from the science, though I didn't get into tons of specifics here. If you aren't sure, go to the website ppdassociation.org and click the link for compiled research studies. It's everywhere. The science is on our side. So level 1 doubt is crumbling right and left. And what is filling the void? Level 2 doubt comes next. But it too doesn't have just science on its side, but also logic. And this is even more important because it has much more far-reaching repercussions than solidity. Time to use logic to pick apart Theory 1 from today that presupposes that some people can get better and others cannot, or that some symptoms can yield fully to recovery while others cannot. What explains then why these certain people get better? Are they superhuman? Are they just incredibly genetically lucky? Did they just get a lucky symptom that is somehow easier to cure, though no reason is given? These questions lead to very murky answers at best, and devolve into a fairly pitiful display of reliance on ignorance, uncertainty, and essentially giving up on the quest for truth. I have yet to hear an actual good theory, one that doesn't fall directly in line with mind-body thinking anyway, on why some symptoms would behave differently than others when factoring in a mind-body diagnosis. I hear arguments like, well, if it's headaches, that is much harder to cure. I've even said this once or twice myself before hearing how ridiculous I sound. Why would they be harder to cure other than because of the belief? Maybe because it's so in your face. There is no good reason why. Quite to the contrary, all logic would suggest that these symptoms should be operating on the exact same system. They use the same brain, the same body, the same kind of pain receptors and signalers. They have the same evolutionary history. When you think about it, it would be completely weird for one symptom to be different from another in how they respond to mind-body treatments. The body and mind evolved over millions of years of evolution. They each work the same, given a set of parameters in all situations. The idea that one set of symptoms arbitrarily works differently than another is highly illogical. What does make logical sense is that what we believe about specific symptoms could be totally different from other ones, and this then can explain for the variations in things. Theory 2 is trampling Theory 1 to this point. Let's watch Theory 1 try to justify itself and flounder. If there really are certain symptoms that are harder to resolve, shouldn't this be consistent across all people? Shouldn't there be some reason we can find why some get better and some don't? Their answer? Nope. But why? Because. But why? Well, it could be any number of things. Okay, so you don't have a real answer. Oh, I have plenty of answers. So many, in fact, we can't say which one. Now I ask you, if you were asking your friend why they were late to pick you up, and they talked like that, would you think, maybe they're right, there could be all kinds of explanations. Oh well, let's just move on. No. You'd be like, dude, why are you being so weird? What are you hiding? Well, these theories are asking you to let them hide something. What they're hiding is their inconsistencies, the ways they mislead you, the way they outright lie about things under the guise of truth. The second a theory asks you to rely on randomness, things being too complicated to understand, or there being no way to get an answer, we might as well be dealing with a con man. I've dealt with those before, sadly, and many of these theories are no better. Don't get me wrong, things can be complicated, But if Einstein could establish the facts of quantum physics for us to understand, I don't think a headache should be too much to explain. Each time, as I noted in the previous episode on evaluating themes, we've had to move on to a second theoretical construct just to support the first in these theories. And it didn't take long at all. This is not the sign of an actually good theory. Here's another tricky question you could find yourself struggling with in level 2 doubt. Is it possible that, because our environments determine us, some of us might end up more equipped to master their more difficult symptoms than others? This is an especially tricky one because it involves level 2 and level 3 doubt. But we can dismantle any doubt if we separate it into its parts and make the doubt responsible for explaining itself instead of our thinking we have to explain our crazy mind-body theory to it. The burden of proof is on the theory that isn't showing any merit. Remember, to deal with a doubt or any question, you must line up the two theories and use science and logic to reach your conclusion. First, we separate out level 2 and 3 doubt. The level 3 doubt here is something along the lines of, maybe who I am is the problem, and this includes how I was raised, which could limit my recovery to only being able to master certain symptoms. We'll deal with this kind of level 3 doubt in the next how-to episode, because it is a doubt about the self and its impact on recovery. But it is no matter for the level 2 doubt that is there once it is separated out. Even if you think some part of you is going to limit your recovery, you are still resting on the supposition that any symptom is different from any other. You still have not moved off the original question. Essentially, if you want to look at environmental effects on mind-body experience, I can convince you that in the long run, they do not have to be relevant at all, even if they can be having a temporary influence on things. But this is a distraction from the level 2 doubt we are focusing on. Why is it that you are having an easier time mastering a particular symptom and not another? Let's line up the two theories. An example of theory 1. This symptom is different than the others because it has gone on longer than the others. So my doubt is greater, and it makes it more challenging. The duration of the symptom will make it impossible. Theory 2. Mind-body theory applies the same to every symptom, and once the symptom profile is understood, the symptom can be conquered like any other, no matter how long it's been there. This question, theory 1, begins to falter very easily, actually, with a counter question. Then what explains people who got better from decades of symptom experience? Now we're holding theory 1 accountable, requiring it to adhere to logic. If it does not apply in all situations, why should we believe it so strongly? We are going to need to reconsider this question with a more discriminating eye. Ask yourself this. Does the question, why is it that you are having an easier time mastering a particular symptom and not another, get answered better by theory 1 or theory 2? At the very least, you cannot logically argue that theory 2, mind-body theory, answers it any worse. To combat theory 2, you have to attack it at its source. There's nowhere else to attack it. Maybe mind-body theory is just wrong in general. That's the only place you can possibly attack it, and we have evidence across the board that says, no, that's not right. To combat theory 1, on the other hand, you can attack it virtually anywhere, because it is patently untrue in many cases, in even a cursory review of logic and scientific data. In this specific example, we can challenge the doubt by saying, I'm not just going to assume you are right. Why would the duration have anything to do with getting better? Let's think about it. Hurting longer doesn't lead to less healing. Why would it? Hurting longer doesn't lead to some extra process of pain or suffering. If a broken bone didn't heal, it wouldn't be the case that you would break it more just because time had passed. No, quite the opposite. Time passing helps. The logic of the first theory becomes hard to even consider seriously the more we actually open it up for consideration. The only real reason the duration would have any factor on our getting better, in fact, is if our belief system is the central thing that matters. In that case, duration can matter. But not because duration is determinative. No, it is because duration changes our belief. Mind-body theory holds up from every angle because it is correct and true, especially if the specific mind-body conceptualization has been run through every question imaginable in an effort to come to the truth. My 3 columns are doing exactly that. The columns came directly from every question I could think of and the thousands of others that were brought my way by all of you and more. This is a theory that holds up to scrutiny not only because it is right, but because it was constructed on a solid foundation that never crossed into potential illogic even once, whereas these other theories cross over into illogic right away. As I said in the last how-to episode, this is why I am so certain about things, because I let doubt do the work of bringing up all the right questions, and still the answers hold together in mind-body theory. This is once again the crucial point with respect to how to deal with doubt. Theories like structural ones are faulty because there wasn't enough doubt brought in the first place. As such, many questions have gone unasked, let alone having been answered. Crushing doubt requires us to acknowledge all doubts first. The goal isn't to shut them out, it is to bring them in, and then pick them apart with science and logic. The great advantage we have with logic is that we never have to stop exploring it until we are satisfied, and we never have to worry about what we might find because the truth is actually a good thing. A theory that is correct holds up from all angles because it is actually true. A theory that is not correct may sound pretty, and sometimes not even that, but it is never going to stand up to logic because it has too many fallacies that will be easily exposed with the slightest exploration. Let's remember this in working with two theories. We are all illogical all the time, and doubt uses this against us to come back at every opportunity in new, sometimes even craftier ways. But if we commit to working towards logic, we get there, always, with enough time exposing the theories to the light of day. And this is a major reason why fear and doubt can always be conquered, because the truth is entirely on our side. If you are having chronic symptoms, or what I call consistently acute symptoms, there is a clear fact that always matches with logic. You are having doubt, and that alone is driving your ongoing symptoms. I really hope you enjoyed this episode on how to look at different theories through a logical lens to come to certainty about your mind-body experience and master level 2 doubt. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we'll get back to you personally.